All right, everybody, we are here. Week 6 of the NFL season. Week 6 for Sidelight Savants. My buddy here, Jason, a.k.a. New York. How's your week been, Jason?
Fantastic, Wayne. Did pretty good in my fantasies this weekend. 3 out of 4. That seems to be my MO this year so far, but I'll take that. That's over 500, especially in our leagues. I love it when I get victories in those leagues because we're in some of the toughest leagues I think I've ever been in. So, great weekend. Lots of insanity to go over, man. Let's do it.
I did 5 out of 6. One of the best weeks I've ever had as a fantasy owner. Pretty proud of that. See if I can keep it going. You know, we got treated to an absolute treat Thursday night with Kirk Cousins going off. I mean, for a historic showing, throwing 509 yards and 4 touchdowns. And that got me thinking as I was watching this, he wasn't the only old timer doing his thing. And so like this little segment called Get Off My Lawn, a little tribute to one of the toughest guys known to men, Clint Eastwood, and the rest of the old timers out there. Like I said, Kirk Cousins absolutely put on a phenomenal performance. I am eating crow after that because I said Baker Mayfield was going to be the dude that I would trust more with my team. Listen, Kirk Cousins is a vet. He knows what he's doing. He's playing better than he has in a very long time. Good for Kirk. Like I said, guy's 36 years old. Went out there, threw 42 for 58, 509 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception, 43 points. Leads me to another older gentleman that went out there and just absolutely balled out. Another 2 touchdown performance from a 31-year-old wide receiver, future Hall of Famer Mike Evans. 7 for 5, 62 yards, 2 touchdowns. Love to see the old guys get it done still. And Jason, have you ever tried to type Flacco in your phone or as you're just mentioning him to a friend?
No, not really. You are the quintessential Joe Flacco person that I know.
Autocorrect always corrects Flacco to flaccid. And let me tell you something. There was nothing flaccid about me these last 2 weeks watching Joe Flacco out there doing his thing. My God. Joe Flacco's 39 years old. 1 year to the big 4-0. 44 for 33, 350 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 22 rushing yards. Joe Flacco had the wheels turning at 40 years old. I can only hope to be in as good shape as I am, as Joe Flacco is at that age. I just want to shout out to Joe. Joe got a bad rap after in late stages of his career. Lamar Jackson obviously took the job in Baltimore. Then he has some injury issues. Joe Flacco's playing the last 2 years. Joe Flacco's playing some of the best football we've seen him play outside of his historic playoff run with the Baltimore Ravens. And on a personal level, you go, Joe. You'll always be my quarterback.
Wayne, I'm happy for you. I'm happy for Joe Flacco. Again, phenomenal performance, especially just being thrown into something like that. He did a great job. But you know what, Wayne? We had a lot of crazy numbers this weekend, and it's in the game. This next segment, I'm going to throw something at you here. We're going to talk about some Super Tecmo video game points from guys. Yes, the one himself, Mike Vick, who everybody hated playing against in Madden. But we're going to talk about this NFL blitz of points that we saw this weekend from all these players. We caught the NFL fever this weekend. NFL 2K points going off the board. Wayne, give me some of your top point performers who put up crazy video game numbers this weekend. Who did you see that really impressed you this weekend?
Well, I hate to be repetitive. I've already mentioned 2 of the guys, but you cannot go without mentioning Kirk Cousins throwing for 509 yards. I mean, 509 yards in a single NFL game is almost. I mean, it's crazy. That is absolutely video game numbers. And if I was to pick a player playing Madden or playing a video game to do that, I certainly wouldn't have gone with Kirk Cousins to do that. I mean, what a wild turn in events. Again, 36 years old out there just flinging it against the Buccaneers, who aren't a bad team. On a Thursday night, Kirk Cousins.
Thursday night trap game.
Yep,
Crazy.
absolutely. And unfortunately, I had Kirk Cousins on my bench, and I played Baker Mayfield ahead of him. Baker didn't have a terrible game, but Kirk was the man. And then I got to go once again. I'm being repetitive here, but Joe Flacco, 359 yards, 3 touchdowns. Joe Flacco had a 22-yard run. We don't see Joe Flacco run that often. I don't think we'll see him run that again. But it was a beauty to see. And that is, I mean, if that's not a Madden play, I don't know what is. Seeing a 40-year-old quarterback making a dash for it and unable to stop him. So, I mean, man, I miss playing Madden. We're talking about this. I haven't played a video game in so long, and Madden, man, what good memories playing Madden.
Heck yeah, man. I remember that too, especially when it always dropped. You always were there standing in line getting it. Now,
Yep.
do you think that these video game numbers for those guys, do you think that's sustainable, or do you think this is kind of like a one-off kind of thing?
So far, Kirk Cousins has been doing what he needs to do in Atlanta. It looks like he has new life to him. Especially, the question was, is Kirk Cousins going to be able to perform the way he did as a Viking after his injury last year? And he's doing it. Kirk Cousins, absolutely. And I don't know how the Indianapolis Colts decide to sit Joe Flacco when he's flinging the ball the way he is. Whenever Anthony Richardson comes back, there's going to have to be a discussion out there. And do you start Anthony Richardson or do you go with Joe Flacco to continue the season? And like I said, when Flacco's throwing over 300 yards a game, multiple touchdowns, I mean, what do you do? I mean, the goal is to win games. They didn't pick that win last week, but nonetheless, he's doing what he needs to do to get them a win. You got to stick with Joe, and if Joe Flacco's flinging that ball, you got to start him.
Wow. Well, let me give you a few of mine. Definitely loved watching the Red Zone this weekend. Shout out Scott Hansen, the greatest 7 hours of football on television. It's gospel. Thank you. But watching Joe Burrow, even though they lost the game, and I blame that a little bit on some of the play calling, so that's another story. But Joe Burrow, 44.8 points against a really tough Baltimore team. That Baltimore team is not a slouch team, but for him to go off like he did, again, he was hobbled the week before. Some people kind of questioned his performance. To come out and have a performance like he did was phenomenal. 392 yards, 5 passing touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown. Phenomenal job. I'm going to throw another guy out there who really shocked me this weekend, Tank Bigsby. What a phenomenal performance from him, 25 points. He was the top point running back over the weekend. 25, almost 26 points, 101 rushing yards, 2 rushing TDs, and caught a couple of passes too. But he's not even the starting running back on that team. ETN, who's been a little banged up, and I think is about to lose his starting job. Tank Bigsby, I think, is going to take over that starting position there in Jacksonville because he is a breath of fresh air for that team. They needed a spark. He lit that spark for him. Trevor Lawrence needed that. I'm going wide receiver real quick here too. Darnell Mooney, 31.5 points. What some awesome connections with Caleb Williams, the baby bear, throwing the ball to him. He had 9 receptions, 105 yards, 2 TDs. He had over 16 targets. So you talk about Williams getting comfortable in the pocket and a top wide receiver him to throw to. Mooney was fantastic. And we're also going to go Tucker Kraft, the tight end. Wow. Tucker Kraft, 24.5 points, 4 receptions, 88 yards, 2 TDs. He was fantastic for the Green Bay Packers. Tucker Kraft, unbelievable. And I'm sorry, Darnell Mooney, he was with the Falcons. I'm reading some other notes here. That was my bad. I need to go back to the sleeper thing, but Darnell Mooney for the Atlanta Falcons, and he was a big reason why. Again, I'm reading my notes incorrectly here. I apologize, but Kirk Cousins had those points, but fantastic, 16 targets for him. So again, will these numbers continue? I can see Burrow continuing those numbers. I can see Bigsby continuing those numbers. Mooney, I don't know. There's some other competition there. Tucker Kraft, possibility again, top tight end over the weekend. Will he continue that? I think so. So we definitely saw some crazy numbers this weekend. We'll see if it happens again.
Yeah, I think everybody went on the waivers and was trying to get Tucker Kraft after that performance. You know, there's been a lot of talk about Musgrave, the tight end for the Packers, for a while now. He just hasn't done what we wanted him to do, and Kraft seems to be that guy. You know, as
Right.
we're talking about video games, it just reminded me when I was playing Madden, one of my favorite things to do was that circle button when you're a running back, just doing those spins real fast. God, that was
Yep.
so fun. I miss that. And as a
But you
Ravens
tend to
fan,
fumble a lot too. You had to
yeah,
watch
yeah, yeah.
that button too many times because you tended to fumble.
As a Ravens fan, I just want to say thank God we won that match because I did not want to lose to a quarterback with frosted tips. I'm getting you know, it's Joe
Yeah.
Burrow. What are you doing? I think as
Can't live.
the frosted tips fades, Joe Burrow's getting better. So good for him. You know, we have another week of buys. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. We got 4 teams on bye this week, Jason. We got the Chiefs, the Rams, the Dolphins, and the Vikings. I can tell you one of these teams on here, probably 2 of these teams we're really happy to see on bye, the Rams and the Dolphins. They're not doing too much for us fantasy football wise anyways.
Right.
And it looks like Achin can really use a break right now. Hopefully he's not in terrible shape after coming off with that injury. But they do have some weapons at running back. The Dolphins can bounce back if they can get their game plan straight. Jason, you got the Chiefs are not going to be playing this week. Do you have anybody that you want to start in a spot where the Chiefs would have had your lineup set?
Well, of course, you think Chiefs. There's a lot of weapons on that team. You think Mahomes, of course, but I'm going right to Kelsey. Last couple of games, Kelsey showed up. Monday Night Football, Kelsey really showed up. So it's going to be hard to replace again the tight end position in fantasy football right now. Thin,
Yeah.
Mr. Swift, he is. He is. But I'm gonna just repeat like you've been doing. Tucker Kraft. If you don't have him, if he's on the waiver wire, try to go out and get him because right now, I think Jordan Love has a nice little rapport with him. He's a great safety valve. He's someone he can count on. Again, last 2 weeks, 18 points, then 24 points. So he's actually increased his points over the last couple of weeks. So if I had to replace Kelsey, so I think Tucker Kraft is a safe bet. Go get him.
Yeah, I can't imagine anybody being the number 1 waiver wire request other than Tucker Kraft this week. Phenomenal performance. Definitely a guy you want to fill in. For me, it's hard to look at that Chiefs team and pick anybody other than a tight end you want to replace. Obviously, there's a quarterback situation as well. But I'm going tight end too, and I'm going Zach Ertz for the Washington Commanders. They are playing a very tough Baltimore Ravens defense. But let's be real. Which Baltimore Ravens defense is going to show up this week? We see a lot, even though Baltimore gets the job done, they get the win. That rookie quarterback for the Commanders, Daniels, he's special, man. And I can see the Baltimore Ravens and Washington Commanders being a very high scoring game. Zach Ertz is probably going to grab a handful of catches. Let's see if he can make some magic happen. And he's somebody that's probably available in your waiver wires. And that's what I like to try to do. It's easy to recommend these players where everybody owns already, but we want to look in the waivers and we want to see who we can grab and who we can play and feel confident, or just for a Hail Mary, to be honest with you. Zach Ertz is a tight end that I've picked up in multiple leagues. Not crazy points, but points nonetheless. I would go with Zach Ertz if you needed a tight end.
Someone you can definitely count on. The guy, he's
Yep.
reliable. So it's hard to find reliability right
Yep.
now. So, all right, next Rams, man. Who you got for the Rams? Who you trying to replace on that team? Because that's a little rough team right now, especially
Yeah.
being void of just about everybody on that offense.
Yeah, we got to replace the running back with Williams, and I don't really have a sexy pick for this. Again, I'm thinking waiver wire. And it's real thin on the waiver wire for running backs. And I'm going Madison, running back for the Raiders, and I know they're playing Pittsburgh. I get that, and Pitt's tough, but if he can get that goal line carry and get that touchdown, we've seen Zamir White hasn't been too effective. Madison looking like he could possibly run away with that running back job. If he can get you a goal line carry for a touchdown, grab you 7 points for an otherwise goose egg that you would have had because of the bye week, why not? So throw it up there for a prayer. Hopefully Madison gets a goal line carry against Pittsburgh.
There you go. Well, I'm thinking same thing as you are, man. I think we're on the same page here. Same page. Running back for the Rams, hard to replace because of course that team doesn't have much else either. But I'm going a little more Javonte Williams, the running back in Denver. Last 2 weeks been over projections. 16 points last week. Not a huge amount of points, but he's playing better. I'm seeing a little more pep in his step. I think he's gotten past the injury bug a little bit, knock on wood, because he's on one of my leagues too. But Javonte Williams, I think that Denver offense is looking much better the last couple of weeks because, of course, that Denver defense is a shutdown defense. So, Bo Nix, utilize that running game, man. That will help you in the passing game. So, if you can get Javonte Williams cheap in a trade, or if he just happens to be sitting on the waiver wire or happens to be sitting out there, go get him. I think he's going to get some points this weekend.
Javonte Williams is somebody that I really consider dropping in our league, Jason. And I hit you when you were in New York during a drunken stupor, and you gave me a second round draft pick or third. I don't remember. And then the next morning you said, wait, did I make that trade? Well, I can tell you, Jason, after seeing him run last week, I started regretting that trade because I am very thin at running back right now. And even for a running back that's not performing like we wanted him to do, he can get you 10 points in a game, and sometimes you need 10 points from a running back. So I like that. I like that Javonte Williams, and I hope he continues to work out for you.
I hope so too. I don't make a lot of great decisions when I'm inebriated. So that's at least one in the last whatever. That's why I don't drink that much anymore. But let's go on to another just unbelievably woeful team right now. The Miami Dolphins look just absolutely lost. I kind of feel bad because you got some great talent on there. Wayne, who do you got, and who are you trying to replace on that Dolphins team going into this bye week?
I got Roschon Johnson, another running back that you should be able to pick up on waiver wires if you haven't already. Listen, DeAndre Swift is having is appearing again. He's had 2 solid games in a row, but Johnson continues to be the vulture on the goal line. Very disheartening to see as a Swift fan. However, you got to take the points. If he's available, he's worth grabbing, especially for a fill-in. How about you, Jason?
Definitely the rebirth of Swift. I was totally wrong. Hopefully, he was listening to the sideline savants because I think we beat him up pretty good. But Roschon Johnson catches the ball a little better out of the backfield. So I definitely like that pick, especially when you can get those rushing points and those receiving points. When I think of Dolphins, of course, you got Hill and Waddle. You feel bad. You used to talk about 2 all-world talents with nobody throwing them the ball right now, but they're still good. You still have to try to replace them on your team. DJ Moore, and this is where I misread my notes. DJ Moore with the Chicago Bears, 27.5 points last week. He looks phenomenal with the baby bear, Caleb Williams. He is going to be, I think, that big of a stud over the next whatever weeks going into the playoffs. So DJ Moore, I like him to replace if you got Hill, Waddle. Maybe make yourself a trade. Again, those 2 guys they still have some value. It's going to be a little rough using them in their capacity that they are. And right now, fantasy is about getting points. And if you can trade one of those guys away and maybe get yourself a DJ Moore, do it because he looks phenomenal.
Yeah. And that leaves us with the last team on bye, Vikings. I'm going to go ahead and go with my pick for the Vikings, Jason, and I'm rolling with Andy Dalton. He did not have the best game last week, but if Andy Dalton's playing, he is going up against Atlanta, who just saw Kirk Cousins throw 509 yards against the Buccaneers. Andy Dalton's going to have to throw the ball. They're going to be playing from behind the whole game. And there's no reason why we shouldn't see some points from Andy Dalton. If you need somebody to replace Sam Darnold, if the waiver wire is super thin, Andy Dalton's worth a play just for volume alone. He's gonna have to pass that ball. It's one of those prayer plays. Like, please, please, 2 touchdowns, just 2. Andy Dalton, the Red Rocket, the man himself. Give him a play. Why not?
Well, Wayne, give me a second here. I gotta grab my shovel.
Oh,
I gotta pull somebody out because again, when I'm thinking Vikings, of course, Sam Darnold, even though he had a little hiccup this weekend, didn't really look very good. He's playing against a good Jets defense, so he got a little beat up. Going over to London, a little too much tea and crumpets or whatever the heck they eat over there in London. But I'm going to pull out. We're going to dig him out of the ground again. Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones had a phenomenal game against the Seattle.
He is back. He is back. Yeah. We are holding him up.
And at Danny's, let's go.
You can't kill him.
Let's go. He's the Teflon Don right now, man. Nothing's going to take him down. Daniel Jones going against that horrible Cincinnati defense. I think coming off that very emotional victory in Seattle, playing against the 12th man. Again, it's not easy to play good football in Seattle, especially on the offensive side of the ball. And he really played very well, knock on wood. Did not make any mistakes. Had a fantastic run game with Tracy, who had a phenomenal game. He dropped the ball in there. He looked like a professional quarterback, which I hope and pray he's going to continue because I don't know how much more I can take. My shoulders bothering me from having to dig him up and out of the ground all the time. But Daniel Jones, 26.5 points this weekend, going against that horrible Cincinnati defense. I think he's going to have another phenomenal game. He's going to drop and give some points. So, again, get him out. Daniel Jones, let's go.
Listen, you saw what Daniel Jones did with that Malik Neighbors. He got Rondell Robinson involved. He even got Slayton involved. Neighbors should be back from his concussion protocol. I like Daniel Jones going. Man, there's something about Daniel Jones I can't let go of either, Jason. So this is either going to be the death of Sideline Savants or we're going to be a revelation for people.
Daniel Jones is like that 3-legged dog in the neighborhood. You love him. He's like you don't want to get rid of him. He's a lot of fun, even though he just kind of hobbles around a little bit. So let's go, Danny. I'm going to dig you out again, baby. Let's go.
And that leads us to the segment that we are all waiting for. What brings us together as fantasy owners. Who are we going to start for each position? Jason, let's go quarterback. Who is your must start for quarterback this week for week 6?
Well, again, press me over the weekend, man. He's looking so much better in that offense. Caleb Williams against the Jacksonville Jaguars this weekend. Jacksonville doesn't have a very good defense. The Bears have a really good run game, 2-headed monster there. Swift, again, rebirth of Swift. If he keeps playing like he does, and your man Rashawn Johnson, if he catches that ball out of backfield, they get that play action going. Watch out for him with DJ Moore. Rome, let's go. Caleb Williams, I'm starting. And then again, I'm going to surprise some people here with my sit this weekend. Quarterback, sit. Jaden Daniels. Washington is going into Baltimore. Baltimore is coming off an amazing high on that victory they just had. The Baltimore Ravens, even though they've given up some points, they also held Josh Allen to 180 yards passing and no touchdowns. So if they can stop Josh Allen, who is, all-world, top 5, whatever you want to make, quarterback, they can stop him. I think the rookie comes back down to earth this weekend. I think it's going to be a tough play against the Ravens. Watch it if you can. If you have another guy in your corral besides Jaden Daniels, start him because I think Jaden Daniels is coming back down to earth this weekend against the Baltimore Ravens.
And that's very possible that someone owns Jaden Daniels and has a capable quarterback to play, because a lot of times when you draft rookie quarterbacks, you have that insurance. Someone like a Kirk Cousins or somebody, I can see Daniels being sat. It's difficult, but I can see that happening. I got to go Joe Burrow against your guys, the Giants. Joe Burrow just threw 392 yards against Baltimore, 5 touchdowns. We got Chase and Higgins finally looking like they're in sync again. And I can totally see the continuation of success for Joe Burrow, Mr. Frosted Tips himself. My sit, I am going Brock Purdy against Seattle. They are going to Seattle. Brock has been struggling for the last couple weeks. He's only had 2 weeks ago, he had 15 completions against New England, only 19 completions against Arizona. They're going to be at Seattle. So Brock Purdy, I would sit him if you are a Brock Purdy fan.
Those are some big picks, but watch it, Burrow. The New York Giants defense sacked Geno almost six times last week. So don't sleep on that New York Giants defense.
Yep.
And there's definitely some trouble brewing in San Francisco if they don't start winning some games. That Shanahan, that hot seat might be boiling up a little bit. So watch it.
Yep.
Watch some things develop in there in San Francisco land. So all right, who do you got running back, man? We got running back. Let's go. What do you got?
We mentioned him earlier in the show. I'm going Tank Bigsby against Chicago. Reason I'm going with this pick is because from the start of the season, Peterson, head coach of the Jaguars, mentioned they wanted to take some pressure off of ETN. And all they needed was a glimpse of something working with Bigsby, and they got it last week. No reason why they don't ride the hot hand with Tank Bigsby. He can be a flashy, again, he's a sleeper pick for a lot of people, but when you put those numbers up over 100 yards in a single quarter alone, you got to do what you got to do. Tank Bigsby, I would feel confident starting him. I am sitting Bucky Irving this week. Let's be real, I'm not really sitting him because I don't have the depth to sit him. But if I could sit anybody this week, it would be Bucky Irving. Reason, we got to stop chasing the upside when the players reveal who they are. The evidence is clear. Bucky Irving has never broken 10 attempts in one game. He has never had more than 50 yards of rushing in one game. He does look good. However, good does not win you fantasy football. You got to be great. Bucky Irving is not that guy you want to put your team on the back. If you have to, I understand, because I have to. But if you're thinking he's going to be the guy to lead you to the promised land with 10 attempts, less than 10 attempts every game, and barely breaking 50 yards, I'm just not confident with Bucky Irving this week.
Yeah. Okay. Well, me running back, I got to start Jahmyr Gibbs, Detroit Lions. They're going against the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys are 24th against the run. So that Lions offense has a two-headed monster there. And I think Gibbs is going to be the one to really flourish in that, because, again, he's that change of pace back that the Lions love. Watch him pop off this weekend. I see some big things for Gibbs against that Dallas Cowboys. Because, again, how do you stop the Cowboys from scoring? You keep the ball out of Dak's hands so they can't throw it around. So, and again, that Dallas Cowboys defense is terrible against the run. So if you got any of the Detroit Lions running backs, start them against the Cowboys. And if I had to sit somebody, and I hate doing this because he's a top draft pick, first round talent, hasn't showed up all game. Even that Thursday night game where everybody was in the party in Atlanta, Bijan Robinson, where are you? The last 5 weeks, all under projections. Hasn't shown any flash. Hasn't really been that first round draft pick that we want him to be. And this is going into year 2. He was like that last year, but we blamed it on coaching. We blamed it on the team itself. Now the team is playing well. Now they have a decent quarterback at the helm, and he still just doesn't have any oomph in him. He hasn't had any breakout runs. He hasn't had any big pops. He hasn't scored over 20 points in any game this year, in any game this week, a year. And again, 5 weeks all under projections. I'm sitting Bijan Robinson. They're playing against the Carolina Panthers, but I think Atlanta's going to be up so much against Carolina that I think a lot of their starters are going to be out by the third quarter, anyways. So they're probably going to, this is going to be, I think, a rest game for Atlanta because they're going to be up so much. And Atlanta likes to throw the ball. So sit Bijan Robinson until he does something. Again, you talk about trade value. Here you go, guys. This is someone you can use. Hasn't really shown up, but you can take him, flip him, maybe get yourself 2 starters, maybe get yourself 2 awesome guys that can get you points because somebody wants this guy and hopes that he can do something. But right now, hopes and dreams don't win you fantasy championships.
Listen, if anybody in our league who owns Bijan Robinson would like to trade him to me, feel free. I will be happy to take him. I need running backs. So I got tons of I got tons of draft picks. You just let me know and we'll make it happen.
You'll trade for a peanut butter and jelly sandwich right now.
Yeah.
If he can run the ball, you would take it. So
yeah, I will take it, especially against the Carolina Panthers. But hey,
exactly,
bold move, Cotton.
exactly. Hey, let's get into wide receiver here. I want to throw a wide receiver out there at you here. Someone to start this weekend. Nico Collins being down. Watch out for Stephon Diggs. Again, he's still top talent. He's done a few little games here and there this year, but now he has no Nico to compete against. So I think he's going to be the number 1 receiver there. 4 out of 5 weeks he's gone over projections, but now no Nico dealing with that hamstring injury. Now they went from saying it was day to day. Now the Texans are saying it's week to week. So I think that the Texans are going to rely heavily on Diggs. And if I'm sitting somebody, Quentin Johnson versus that Denver secondary, anybody wide receiver wise that has to play against the Denver secondary, you might as well sit them because it's going to be tough sledding. Those guys are playing on all cylinders. They are a very, very good defense. So, but Quentin Johnson, Chargers coming off that bye week. I don't see anything Herbert I'm not really sold on. I think he's been lackadaisical this year and a disappointment. So I would sit him. Who do you got?
I just want to say I've been saying for the longest time as a Justin Herbert hater that he's incredibly overrated, and he is finally coming to light as an overrated quarterback. Just throwing it out there. Sorry, Noah, if you're watching, but Justin Herbert just not doing it. Just not doing what people thought he was going to do. Wide receiver, I'm going Josh Downs for the Colts. Listen, we had first game back after injury, he had 9 targets. And second game, he had 12 targets. If Joe Flacco's throwing that ball, Josh Downs seems to be the guy he's throwing it to. I really like him as another start this week. They're going up against the Titans. Titans not a terrible defense, but Josh Downs is showing that he can get it done, especially with the old-timer Joe Flacco throwing him the ball. I'm sitting Jacoby Myers for the Raiders going up against Pittsburgh. Devontae Adams obviously is no longer a part of the team over at the Raiders, so it makes Jacoby Myers the number one target for either Aiden O'Connell or Minshew Mania. Who knows what's going on in that backfield right now? But I don't like Jacoby Myers. I don't like anybody on that Raiders team against the Pittsburgh Steelers outside of Brock Bowers. Bowers' talent alone can get some things done, so I do like him. But Jacoby Myers, you could feel pretty confident keeping him stashed on your bench.
I could see that. Yeah, that Pittsburgh defense, they did hold the Dallas Cowboys. They were a 4th down away from winning that game, very close. TJ Watt's still a monster, so yeah, I can agree with that. And yeah, who knows what's going on in Las Vegas? Again, they are leaving Las Vegas. They look terrible. So let's slide on into tight end. Again, you talk about a thin position right now. Wayne, who do you have? Tight end, start, sit. Let's see what you got, baby.
As a podcaster, I always try to stay away from the home team because I don't want to seem biased, but I'm going to go with Isaiah Likely going up against Washington. Isaiah Likely finally had himself a decent game again against the Bengals, and I think this could be a very high-scoring game. Of course, everyone likes to talk about the Ravens defense, but I know the Ravens better than anybody, and they can certainly fall behind if given the opportunity for the other team to jump on them. So give me Isaiah Likely. I think Lamar Jackson's going to be spreading that ball around. It's going to be a high-scoring game. I really like him to get at least a score against the Commanders. Sitting, you know, it's hard for me to pick a sitting tight end because the tight end situation is so scarce right now. Um, Give me Gesicki with the Bengals. I think I sat him last week. I don't. Who knows? I can't remember at this point. But they got a rookie. They got a rookie tight end that's been doing fairly well for him. Gesicki seems to be losing touch of that starting position. So I would sit Mike Gesicki.
I could see that. That's some good calls there. Um, I was a little disappointed in the Ravens, even though they won that game. Derrick Henry had 11 touches at the half and 12 touches at the end of regulation. And of course, what happens when they give him a ball? He takes him down and wins him the game. So again, Ravens, don't lose your identity. They open that up for you. But anyway, that's my little Ravens rant real quick for you because I know you got all that Ravens stuff back there in your right there behind you there. So
Sure.
for me, tight end, if I had to start somebody again, no Nico Collins. CJ Stroud has to distribute the football. I think Dalton Schultz is finally going to show up. He's going against the New England Patriots, who right now are, I would have to say, probably between them and maybe Cleveland. Sprinkle the Panthers in there a little bit. The worst team, probably the worst team, well, at least on paper, the worst team in the NFL, the New England Patriots. So I think that the CJ Stroud is going to throw the ball around. I think Diggs is going to show up, but I think Dalton Schultz is going to show up for that Texans team. So if you had to start a tight end, I know he hasn't done much this year, but if you need him this year, if you need him this week, start him against New England because they're going to go off. And if I had to sit somebody, again, I'm going on the other side of the ball here. Anybody starting for the New England Patriots, you need to sit. But on the tight end aspect of that, Hunter Henry, they're going to start Drake May over the weekend. We're hearing some reports that they're sitting their starting quarterback. They're going to put Drake May in. So Hunter Henry, sit him. I don't think he's going to do anything. I don't think that offense is really going to do anything against a stout Texans team. This is one of their trap games. Texans know they cannot lay an egg in New England because they will never hear the end of it. So expect a big showing from the Texans and sit Hunter Henry. Don't like them. So that's my sleeper. That's my picks there. So now we're gonna go into sleeping. I know it's getting past your bedtime. A little past by bedtime here. So, Mr. Wayne Commish, let's go in that deep sleep that we like to go into the end of this at the end of this podcast. Who you sleeping on this week?
I am going back to my home team. I'm going with Rashad Bateman. For any other reason of I've been wanting to see Rashad Bateman come alive for so many years now. I believe it's his third, fourth year in the league. Thought he was going to be our wide receiver one. Thought he was going to be our stud. He did get 8 targets last week, the most he's gotten all season long. Again, high scoring game between the Ravens and the Commanders. Potential high scoring game. I can see Bateman running away with a couple scores. If we get lucky enough, let's roll with Rashad Bateman. Let's give him let's see some praying for it. Come on, Rashad, show us something.
Well, I think that's a safe pick. He's definitely shown he is a top talent. I think they need to utilize him a little bit more. But again, I think that run game very important
Yep.
in Baltimore. Not just Lamar running around, Derrick Henry, but my sleeper, Jaleel McLaughlin with the Denver Broncos. He is kind of backing up Javonte Williams, but had 11.5 points over the weekend. He is, again, that little bit of a fire plug. He comes, catches ball. Who? McLaughlin. I hope I'm saying it right.
I'd do it.
McLaughlin. Going against the Chargers, he catches the ball out of the backfield. They tend to utilize him a lot, change of pace back. He's going to be able to get you some points over the weekend against that Chargers. Javonte Williams, with his injury history, they like to kind of rest him at some points throughout the game. So I think he's my sleeper again. If you're thin on the bench, if you're thin on somebody to start with all these bye weeks, you pick him up. Anybody in fantasy football that can get you double-digit points gives you a chance because it's better than goose eggs. So that's my deep, deep sleep.
There we go. And
There you go.
with that wraps up week 6 of Sideline Savants. Again, we thank you guys for tuning in. Appreciate your views. Thanks for sharing. Please give us some comments on our YouTube page. Ask them some questions. Let's get the discussion flowing. I would love to see some more feedback on and what we're providing. Let us know if we won you a game. Let us know if we helped you out. Hell, let us know if we lost you a game. We'll take anything at this point. It's fun. We love
at least make fun of Danny Dimes, whatever
at
you got.
least make fun of him.
At least
Listen,
make fun of Danny Dimes. Come on, let's go. There
he's
you
getting
go.
hard. It's getting hard to keep this man up. And every time Jason comes back to me and says, let's do it, So let us know how we're doing, everybody. We appreciate you. Jason, always a pleasure.
Wayne, thank you so much, Commissioner. Appreciate it. Thank you all very much. Again, Sideline Savants, 12 p.m. on Wednesday. Stream us, like us, subscribe. We appreciate you guys. Let's go. Week 6. Get that victory, and we'll see you next week.